Hello everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, I'm Tina, and today we are going to be making a French style beef stew called Bourguignon. I hope I said that right. I've made this a couple times and it is got to be, there goes my cat again, the most delicious beef stew I've ever had in my life. If you've ever read the recipe or watched someone else make it, it looks ridiculously complicated, but I promise you it is not, and you're gonna love it. And if you're a wine drinker, I don't really know much about wine, but there's wine in it and it's yummy, and let's just get started. There we go. So we are starting with beef chuck roast. One is a boneless shoulder roast and one is a bottom round roast. You can pick the toughest cut of meat out there simply because this is going to be cooked in the oven for about 3 hours. So it will get nice and tender, but what I'm gonna do is cut off all this extra fat first because we don't want any of that. Well, maybe a little, but not a lot. Okay, so I did remove most of the fat. I left a little bit because fat is flavor, but what we want to do is cut this into pretty sizely chunks, kind of like this. And then we're gonna sear them off really good. May I help you, sir? I know. So we just want these as dry as we can get them because we don't want to steam the meat. We want to sear it so it has a nice crust on the outside. Now in our skillet, if you can see this properly, we're going to put some olive oil. This is just a light olive oil. Not too much, maybe a tablespoon or two. We're going to turn this on and let it get, well, we're doing like medium high. And we're going to let it get hot enough to where when we put the meat in here, it's going to sear it and not steam it. And also I did preheat my oven to 325 degrees. All right, our oil should be hot enough. Let's test it out. Yeah, that's good. Here I'm just explaining that I like to keep a little bit of space in between each chunk of meat. That way they don't steam like I had mentioned before, and you can get a really nice sear on them. And then here, this is what I call the wiggle test. In a stainless steel pan, when the meat is ready to be flipped over, it will release just like this piece, versus the other one where it's still stuck. It's not ready to be turned yet. So if you force it, unfortunately your meat will stick to the pan and that will result in it ripping, which is not always the prettiest. If there's any excess oil, go ahead and dump that off. And all of these little bits in here are flavor. So we're going to deglaze that with our wine, about 2 to 3 cups. I did go ahead and shut the flame off. I don't know if the alcohol content is high enough in here to catch my house on fire. And then scrape all these yummy bits off. And that's going to go in our meat pool as well. Gently transfer So before our beef and wine go into the oven, we need 2 to 3 cups of beef stock. I don't have beef stock, so I'm just using the beef base and seasoning. So to 3 cups of that, we need 1 teaspoon per cup, so 3 teaspoons. And this is warm water. This way it'll help dissolve it pretty good. 3 teaspoons-ish. And then tomato paste. So about a tablespoon, I'd say. I do have vegetable stock and I do have chicken stock. I've never actually used either, so I'm not sure how it's gonna taste. I mean, I guess that's up to you. So then we'll pour this in here as well. Next, we're going to quarter 8 ounces of mushrooms. I did cut the tip off the stem just because they were a little dry. You don't have to. And then to our freshly cleaned skillet, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter. The mushrooms go in and I let them sit there for 2 to 3 minutes before even touching them. They're gonna start browning and that adds so much delicious flavor. So once those are done, go ahead and pop them in a bowl. The original Julia Child recipe does call for pearl onions. I'm a cheapo and I just use regular onions. I also added 3 teaspoons of minced garlic I forgot to show. And then there are variations of her recipe that also call for carrots. My family loves cooked carrots. I can't stand them, but I added them anyway. So go ahead and add your onions to your bowl as well. And those are going to be set aside for now. But we're going to cook our carrots, take our pot out of the oven and add the carrots about 2 hours before your beef is done. I added a couple teaspoons of thyme and then 2 basil leaves, and we're back in the oven. So for our side, we are having buttered potatoes with parsley. I just went ahead and chopped them up early and put them in a pot of cold water. Once that was done, I made a French Beurre Manie. This will be a thickener for our wine and beef broth. We're just going to combine 3 tablespoons of flour to 1 tablespoon of butter. Once they're smushed together nicely, we're going to go ahead and remove our pot from the oven. And then you can either use a metal colander to separate the juice from the meat, or just like a big spider slotted spoon. Once that's all separated, go ahead and turn your burner onto medium-high heat and add the Beurre Manie and whisk to combine and prevent any kind of lumps. Once that's all whisked together nicely, go ahead and add your mushrooms, onions, and garlic. The liquid will start coming up to a simmer/boil. That way it'll thicken up nicely, and then you can add your meat back. And then for the potatoes, I just boiled them like mashed potatoes and added 4 tablespoons of butter, about 2 teaspoons of parsley, pepper, and salt. I am trying to stir a little gently here because they were cooked a little bit more than I normally cook them, but they chew up and come out the exact same, so it's okay. So here's the final product. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me make this for you today. Until I see you next time, be kind, eat well, and I'll see you in the next one.